First is the office of profit, and it's a very ticklish problem, because so many questions arise whether this person is holding an office of profit under the government or under the government of any state or not. So several questions arose, and there are so many judgments of the Supreme Court that it's very difficult in fact. Then in one case, of course, they have ultimately, it's a very old case, very long history, but they have laid down certain principles, and if any question arises, then you have to apply those tests, whether this can be said to be an office of profit under the government. First is, who makes the appointment, whether the government is making the appointment or somebody else is making the appointment. If the appointment is made by the government, then the first test is satisfied. Then if the government has made the appointment, whether they have the power to remove him or whether they have the power to continue him, or can just their hands are tied. No, once appointment is made, then they have no right. Then it may not be a office of profit under the government. Then third, they have said, who pays the remuneration, whether the government or some other authority. But there they have also, Supreme Court in that very case, they have said, the source from which the payment of remuneration is made is not very material, but what the functions of the holder are, then whether the government exercises any control, these are all the things to be kept together. But basically, who makes the appointment and who has the power to continue in that place, that is the main determining factor. I will give you some example. Supposing there is a government company or a corporation, we have now hundreds of corporations. The government makes the appointment of the, say, chairman or the director, and then the government has the power to remove him or to continue him or to dismiss him from that particular post. That will be taken as a office of profit, and the office under the government. But in the same company, there may be several other junior officers who are not being appointed by the government, because they have drawn a distinction between the government. They may be appointed by a board of directors, there may be some select appointment committee, or there may be some other director who may be made the director of personnel. So there the courts have drawn a distinction. He is not being appointed by the government, he is being appointed by the company, which is a separate entity. So in the case of the lower employees, they have said they are not holding office of profit under the government, whereas the director or the chairman who has been directly appointed by the government, he is the holder of office under the government. So this you will have to always keep in mind. Who makes the appointment, whether the government has nominated or appointed him as a director or as a chairman or as secretary, or the appointment has been made by the company's own secretariat or some own offices. So LICs or some other, they have come out with some decisions. So the determining factor is who has made the appointment, and then who is making the payment also. Supposing a corporation has been set up, the government appoints the chairman, but then the government can remove the chairman also, but they say that payment shall be made by the corporation from its own funds. So that is not, they have said, that is not a determining factor. That is relevant, but not the determining factor, because the payment may be, he is drawing the profit by virtue of his appointment by the government. So that is the office which is giving him some benefit, and that appointment or that post he is holding because of the government's this courtesy. And the main idea is that there should not be a conflict of interest between the member of parliament or member of legislature, and he should not feel beholden to the state government, because who has made the appointment to him. So this is the principle. And then there is one thing more, it's not merely an office or office under the government, there should be some profit also. And you will see somewhere they may say yes, he will be chairman but he will not draw any salary. So in that case it's an office under the government, but it's not an office of profit because he has not been given any salary or anything. So sometimes they may say he will draw only the compensatory allowance for attending the meetings, or he may be provided transport from his house to his office for attending the meeting. So Supreme Court has said these are not the sources of profit for him. So he may be office holder, he may be holding an office under the government, but there is no profit. So it's very ticklish. So you have to keep decide these issues on a and in one case, I tell you a very interesting case. Vice Chancellor of a university, he has been appointed by the governor and he draws salary, everything he says, but the Supreme Court has said no, it's not an office under the government because the governor is appointing him not as the governor of the state but as a chancellor of the university. So the capacity in which he has made the appointment is not the government authority, but because by virtue of some act he is the chancellor of the university. So the chancellor has made the appointment, not the governor of the state. So there they have said he is not holding, vice chancellor is not holding an office. Similarly, that then again they have said that if a person is elected, say maybe a mayor of a particular city or even the members of parliament, they are holding office, they are drawing profit also so many, but they are not being appointed by the government, so they are not holding office under the government because the government is not making the appointment. Similarly, sarpanches and the mayors or other corporation members, etc., they are not holding office of profit. So this is what you have to decide. But one thing more, very crucial, Parliament in this particular, this constitution itself in this article has said that the Parliament and the state legislatures are empowered to remove disqualification in respect of certain offices. They may feel that this is an office of profit, we are making the appointment, yet we require his services or the services of a particular group of persons, keeping in view certain special circumstances. So the Parliament and state legislatures, they have been empowered under this article to exempt certain offices. So Parliament and all the state legislatures, they have passed separate acts removing the disqualification in respect of certain offices. So Parliament has passed an act which is known as the Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959, and all state legislatures, they have removed disqualifications in respect of their own state legislature. But one thing you must keep in mind here, Parliament has passed the law which removes the disqualification for election to Parliament, and state legislatures have passed the laws with regard to certain offices which remove the disqualification for state legislatures. It's quite possible that the Parliament may have exempted some office, but the state legislature may not have exempted that very office. So if you are the RO for the parliamentary constituency, you will look into the parliamentary law, and if the exemption is there, you will say he is not holding. But if you are the RO for the assembly constituency, you have to see the state law. And if somebody says, no, just see, madam, this Parliament has this board, you say no, this is only applicable to Parliament, not to the state legislature. So this is how you have to deal with that question of disqualification for office of profit under the government.